Hey guys, week 37 here. I'm sort of bumming it. You know, I sorted a lot of the DVDs by company order. I'm kind of exhausted. Got a big shoot coming up for the Bad Man. So this is probably going to be, you know, a little bit more jarring than usual. Not as professional. But let me hop right into this. This is week 37. I have some titles to review for you. And what is it, a pick-a-movie contest and some questions. The first one I will be reviewing is Brimstone, which came out in 2016. I would not have heard about this movie if it weren't for the 22 shots of Moods and Horror podcast. They do a nice little podcast. It's what is it? JP from, they're all YouTubers or former YouTubers. Moods, NES Ruler 22, and JP. They do a great job. I haven't listened to all the episodes. I just started listening to them. These guys are not PC, so it's kind of a shout out for them. But this was Moods number 1. I picked it up last week. I popped it in. It's a 2-hour and 28-minute Western with like sort of a supernatural horror element to it as well. Definitely that's in there. And I don't want to call it the weekly Western because I have something else planned for it. But yeah, it has Dakota Fanning and Guy Pearce. You know, Guy Pearce pops up in stuff like The Proposition and Is It L.A. Confidential, I believe he was in. It's been a while. But he's a fairly good actor from everything I've seen. Dakota Fanning I've actually not really seen in anything. You know, she's in a lot of... I'm sure she's a fine actress, but I haven't seen her pop up. You know, there's a lot of those actors or actresses that don't do stuff that you're very interested in. But she's tremendous in this movie. This one's divided into 4 chapters. It starts out with a family in the Old West times. This also doesn't feel necessarily like a Western all the time because it doesn't take place all the time in the Old West. You know, there's like church towns, small towns, whatever kind of frontier towns you want to call them. But this priest enters this town. Dakota Fanning is mute, something wrong with her tongue. And she kind of helps give birth. She's kind of the doctor of the area. And this baby ends up dying because she picks the baby over the mom to die. And this strange priest shows up and he's all scarred up and he looks creepy, and immediately Dakota Fanning does not like this person, and the whole town is turned against Dakota Fanning because of influence from the priest. We go back in time and figure out where Dakota Fanning came from, who she is. We go back in time again there, we realize who the relationships in the movie, how they're connected here and there, and then we finally come back to the very end of the movie, and it ties up really nicely, and there's repercussions for actions and things like that. At times there's more Western feel here and there, but it's brutal. The violence is there. When it happens, it's pretty nasty. A horrifically nasty villain with a horrifically disgusting reason for doing what he's doing. It's one of these religious guys that uses religion on his side and does what he wants with it, manipulates it. But he has you know, some tricks up his sleeve. He's not necessarily, you know, he's seen some things with a hint there. Yeah, well acted, well shot. It's not cheap at all because I hadn't heard of it. So I was like, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's like there's been a couple cheaper westerns that came out recently. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I was thinking, I'm interested in this, and I put it in. I was like, oh, this is a top-notch looking movie. It has some great cinematography. It has some great locations. It's fairly beautiful. It's dramatic. Dare I say the word epic, because when you think epic, you think, you know, garbage 3.5-hour robots fighting each other nowadays. Well, that's not what that word should be used for, but not that anything wrong with those movies either, just not for me. But yeah, this one is a really well-made movie that as it unfolds more and more, you realize more and more of the story. And the connections, and it's ruthless. It just doesn't take any prisoners, and I love that about the movie. And it starts out with narration in the beginning, and by the end you forgot that it was narrated in the opening. But just well acted. With a lot of stuff. There's times where it feels like the show Deadwood. I would just give this a very strong, hearty recommendation. Nothing wrong with this movie. One of the better ones I've seen from 2016. I don't usually give ratings. I don't know if you guys want me to start giving ratings. I can throw them out there. I never really do. But really well recommended. Top-notch acting and some brutal stuff, and loved it.
Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, for inwardly they are ravening wolves. Jesus is the shepherd who protects you from those wolves. And I am his dog, the sheepdog that get the lambs back on track when they stray off the path. And some of you have strayed, haven't you?
Mama, are you evil? The Reverend says he's here to take you back where he came from.
I know you're there, and I know you can hear me. You may have no tongue, but there is nothing wrong with your ears. Do you know why I'm here? I'm here to punish you.
Why do you let him do this?
It's a sin.
I love him!
You will not. It is lust.
He ain't never gonna stop, is he?
I seen your mother. She's the kind of person that turns the other cheek. Are you like her?
Never leave your loved ones alone. You should know that by now.
Okay, the next one here was recommended to me. It was on Shudder. I reviewed. I saw Inside. It's by the directors of Inside. I love Inside. I watched their rendition of their movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre one, the Leatherface one. Didn't care for it. So somebody said, "Why don't you check out their other movies, Among the Living and Livid?" So I watched Among the Living on Shudder. It's a Shudder exclusive, and I put it in. And I'd heard mixed things about it. And man, the first 30 minutes of this movie I thought were tremendous. I was like, what's mixed about this? This is great. It starts off pretty brutal. The setup is amazing. We have this guy who served in the war, and he's watching the news, and he's a vet. He lives in a shithole, dare I say it. He's got kids. His wife seems miserable. It takes place in Halloween, so it's definitely like, the French trying to show Halloween. I don't know if it's the same over there. I hear it's pretty different in Europe, but going on a tangent here, like I always do. But he's a vet, and they talk about their kids having some sort of side effects. And you understand his wife is pregnant, and they already have another kid. And it just seems like a miserable environment. Something tragic and ridiculous and over the top happens where some people die. And it changes the family dichotomy or dynamic in this completely. And we cut back to these three kids after that. After part ways with this family. Really brutal and really disturbing, and it incorporates, with the wartime that was going on and all the chemicals used in the past from, like, it's not Vietnam, but, they're kind of using the modern wars as that kind of feeling. We cut to these kids, and we're in Stand By Me. We're in a Stephen King. We're in an Amblin movie for some reason, and I don't mind that. I love that, but the kids are delinquents, and it's so funny that you have one hand, you have this horrific opening, and then the other hand, you have this childlike innocence in the movie with even the score and the way it's shot. It doesn't necessarily, they shouldn't match, but they kind of do at times, and they kind of match here. These kids end up doing something dumb, and they stumble across this abandoned movie studio, which is awesome. Not stumble, but they know it's there. I was like, this is also great. Great setting. And, of course, the people from the beginning end up being there, and they have this weird family dynamic with, like, I guess I'll say Leatherface style. I guess the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family kind of deal, sticking together. And they witness this woman being put in a trunk, and they try to help her. And the people catch on to them. And the kids escape, but they leave something behind. And that's pretty much the setup of this movie. The killers come into their world, or the killer. And I was wondering, here's where it kind of took a nosedive for me. I don't hate it at all, but it opens up so cool. You have this setup with the great family thing, and then you have this really awesome location. It's a movie studio, abandoned movie studio. what better place to watch a horror movie take place? It's like an old boom town, awesome stuff. And then they cut to these kids' home lives, which are all completely radically different. And that's where we're going to have the rest of the movie. Why set it up in such a great location? I know we're going back there at the end. You have to. But I would have rather seen the whole movie take place there. So as we progress, of course, the killer, who has some weird deformities, comes after the kids. And this is where it's weird to me, because we have this brutality in the beginning, and we have brutality at the end, and we have these guys infamously known for their brutal, style and inside and whatnot. There's like 3 off-screen deaths here. 3, 4 off-screen deaths. And I was scratching my head. I was like, you set up, you always regret, this Inside's great about setting up suspense and then giving you the gore as well. So you get the best of both worlds. This one sets up some decent suspense, some decent scares. But they even do the old joke, which we don't have a clown stuffed animal, and that's fine if it's like a campy thing or a fun thing. But this movie's dead serious, and it's just like, I don't know why this is in here in this type of movie. But it comes down to the one kid and the final family. And there's times where editing is a problem here. One of the people is being attacked, and it turns into, like, this one is a long kill, like a 2-minute kill on screen. And the family runs, and then it cuts back right to the family like they just got to the phone. I don't know. I imagine that's meanwhile, but the editing is just like, they're just going to stop for 2 minutes while somebody they care for is being murdered. Come on. They also forget how to open a washer. They should have set that up earlier. I don't think they did. Well, maybe this washer sticks. They forget how to open a washer. They spend 2.5 minutes trying to open a washer screen time. That's aggravating. That's silly. And then the end of the movie, without giving too much away, it has some great violent moments here and there. The end of the movie, they set up one of these kids is rich, one of these kids is poor, one of these kids is middle class, maybe upper middle class. And there's tombstones at the end. And the tombstones are exactly the same almost. Come on, guys. Why would you bother even setting up this class in this movie just to, not even have it show in the tombstone, in the cemetery at the end? It's just small things like that aren't really well thought out. But is it bad? Not really. It starts off great. It ends okay. It's a solid movie. It's well worth checking out. Some nice gore, a nice setup, some cool locations, and some decent scares. That's Among the Living on Shudder exclusive.
Le dernier jour avant les grandes vacances, on est obligé de se taper 1 heure de colle en plus.
Si on se cassait d'ici.
Tout le monde est là.
Toi et tes copains, là, c'est quoi? Faut vous castrer pour vous calmer ou quoi?
Là-bas.
C'est pas Herman.
Mais c'est qui alors?
Il va vers Blackwood.
The next one I checked out is also on Shudder. It's called The Nightmare. This is a German film, I believe from a couple years ago, but I'm not sure if it was released until 2017. This one was interesting to me. They talked about it on the 22 Shots podcast again, and Mood seemed to really love this one. I put this one, I was watching it. This is a strange movie. It's psychological kind of a creature movie, which I love that kind of stuff. And this is a very bizarre movie. This girl has these fears, has this, this obvious problem. It takes place in like Germany, so they're always like going to these raves and parties and stuff, and it's really hard to even be interested in this character without sounding like a complete jerk, because it's like, you're so rich, you have all this money, and your problems are psychological, but they don't seem like they came out of anywhere special. It seems like they were just created. You don't really know much about the girl's original backstory, so it's just like they came out of nowhere. So you're like, what's going on here? And her fears, her problems, they become a real life creature. This strange little creature that at first becomes a problem, and then she becomes friends with it. She embraces it. And the movie also has a strange time loop, kind of like predicting what's going to happen here and there. It is a very weird movie. Without much happening in it except some fun moments with the creature. That would be funny if it were played differently. The creature looks like he's part digital, part practical. I like how he looks. I like the setup. It just doesn't really work for me. I don't really grasp it 100% or care about it enough to care. You know, I don't really care about the characters in the movie, and it definitely feels a little muddled. Maybe I missed some things. I don't think it's awful. I think it's worth checking out. It's a very dark film at times. It's very grainy, and it's meant to look like that. I don't particularly like how it looks. Again, kind of like Raw. It's a French film. You have all these raves and this crazy dancing and stuff, and I'm like, man, do kids act like that over there? I guess they do. I don't know. The movies would know better than me. But it's an interesting concept with some cool things in here. I guess it's trying to say stuff about overcoming your fears or facing your fears, or your psychological problems becoming real. But you don't really understand what her psychological problems were in the first place, or why she has problems. Maybe it seems like her parents are a little overbearing. That's all I can get to. But I just can't really give this a hearty recommendation, but just a light recommendation. That's The Nightmare.
Hast du das gehört, Babs? Adam liegt an meinem Geburtstag auf.
Hat im Moment ein bisschen Probleme, aber ich finde, sie geht ganz toll damit um.
Ihr denkt jetzt vielleicht, dass ich irgendwie strange bin oder so, aber es war eben noch da und jetzt ist es plötzlich weg.
Die Küche sah aus, als hätte eine Bombe eingeschlagen.
Oder nein, Dicker, es war so eine Viecher, Alter.
Babs, du hast doch neulich erzählt, dass du als Kind immer so Sachen gesehen hast, oder? Du so, ich kenne das.
Unser Hirn ist das größte Mysterium auf Erden, glaubt. Und es spielt mitunter üble Streiche mit uns.
The last one I watched streaming was on Shudder as well. It is Living Dead Girl by Jean Rollin. Rollin, whatever you say. I watched Lips of Blood previously. And, like I said before, I had seen Jean Rollin's movies. Like, I only seen Zombie Lake, and that for years put me off Jean Rollin. I was like, man, that is terrible. That's like Jess Franco's worst movie caliber there. And, Zombie Lake had some nice TNA in it. When you're a kid, you'll put on anything with TNA. And you'd be like, hey, I want to watch this. But it's an awful movie. After watching Lips of Blood, I was like, I want to watch some more of his stuff. So watching Living Dead Girl, I was vastly impressed. I like this one a lot more. This is such a strange movie. We have this, it starts off right off the bat. Doesn't take time to get set up. We have this mansion for sale. Underneath is a crypt. In this crypt, these idiots are dumping toxic waste next to all these bodies, this stuff. And, of course, that has a side effect on the bodies in the crypt. One of the bodies comes back to life. It is this young woman. She's beautiful. She seems to be preserved very well. She starts to roam around the mansion, and you see flashes, like her life coming back, and she understands some things. And she ends up picking up the phone. She has these flashes, and she calls an old friend. This old friend and her have some sort of lesbian love thing going on. And the living dead girl needs blood to survive. And as she becomes more aware of what she's doing and aware of who she is, she doesn't want to be alive. It's a very tragic, very sad story, and the way they unfold the story, the way they bring in new elements about how she finds her friend is beautiful. The flashbacks are great. They the more flashbacks you see, the more you understand their characters' interactions and who they are with each other. It's really well made. And they also have side characters, American side characters that end up seeing her and taking a picture and going through town and finding out she's dead and all this other side element. The husband's actually a fairly comical character and enjoyable. It's a sad movie. It's a mean-spirited movie. It's a beautiful looking movie. It has that same, it's well shot. It is slow at times, but it's always in a great location. There's plenty of nudity, plenty of sexual stuff in here. I would really recommend this one. And it's surprisingly gory. Some nasty gore in here where there's lots of throats being ripped out and just blood spewing. Much more gorier than Lips of Blood and gorier than Zombie Lake. But I really love this one. I would really recommend checking it out. I ordered the Blu-ray myself. I had to have it. But yeah, it's on Shudder. It's a great movie, well acted. And I love the relationship with, you know, someone wanting to keep someone alive who doesn't want to be alive. And that's similar to like kind of a death dream as well at the end. But I would really check out Lips of Blood. It's a real winner. Okay, the next one here is the Weekly Western.
Let's go. Why not? Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Say when.
Feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Hey, Kitty, you bastard! It's you and I!
I don't deserve this.
It is from Code Red, Cutthroats 9. Yeah, I'd heard about this movie forever. I even had the DVD, the double feature with Joshua. but I had never watched it. And the more and more I heard about it, the more and more I was like, man, I'm just going to put this in. This is a Spanish Western. This is not a spaghetti Western, I guess, but it has a similar feel to it. It feels like The Hateful Eight meets The Dirty Dozen, if that explains anyone. We have this Civil War sergeant transporting these 7 ruthless killers. One of these killers killed his wife, is responsible for the death of his wife. They're all chained together. They're going through a bad territory where a lot of people are robbed. And this sergeant wants to know who did it. His daughter's also with him. He wants his revenge. And he's pretty brutal. These guys are, no spring chickens either. They're all old and grizzled, and they just look like they've been through hell. And they're not nice guys either. They're the Cutthroats 9. Or come on. So what happens is they get robbed by these guys looking for gold, and they have these guys in a chain gang, and they're like, "There's no gold. These are only prisoners." There's a twist here, and I'm going to give it... they mention it in the trailer, so I'll spoil it. They're actually chained together with gold. It's hidden as gold, so they can transport this gold and look like they don't have any. The wagon crashes. Everybody dies except the sergeant, his daughter, and the 7 prisoners, and this leads him having to take these guys through the snow and get them to the next fort. But soon they find out that they have the gold, and... of course, people start getting picked off here and there, and trusts are pushed, boundaries are broken, blood is spewed, and it is gory. People are shot, especially for 71, 72, people shot in the eyes, falling down. It's just brutal, and these guys are ruthless, no matter what it takes to survive and get gold. They all have these, when people die or when you get close to a character, they'll show glimpses of their past, they'll show the glimpses of the wife's murder, and you don't know the whole story at the end, and of course when they discover who it is, it makes a lot of sense at times, drawing the straws and whatnot, and it shows these flashes of these guys in their lives before. Really entertaining movie, and it ends awesomely. It's great. You can tell this is one of those movies that Tarantino drools over, he salivates over, but it's not particularly well acted because a lot of these guys are dubbed, but they just have stone faces, and some of them are really well acted through their faces, but the dubbing hurts the performances. But there's just a lot of beautiful moments when they lay the chains on the train tracks. Is really great, and they're like, yeah, and then when they get excited when the train comes, the interactions are great, the flashbacks are great, and the reveals are great, and the ending's great. I would really recommend Cutthroats 9 if you could pick up the Blu-ray. I would do that. There's only a trailer on the disc. There's not many special features here, but a real winner.
This film acclaimed by critics as the most violent motion picture ever portrayed on the screen. Cutthroats 9. A notorious gang bent on the slaughter of human souls for a small fortune in gold, and even more precious, their freedom. Ruthless men fighting for their lives. They were desperate criminals, chained together, driven by a vengeful sergeant. They feared nothing. They were destined to die shackled like animals. Cutthroats 9. The story of a young girl trapped amidst the lust and greed of vicious killers. Cutthroats 9. Roy Hill as her lover. Emma Cohen. One girl, 9 men that would stop at nothing to get what they want. Starring Robert Hunter as the vengeful Sergeant Brown. An adventure in violence that will rip your heart out. Cutthroats 9. Violence is their way of life. It's the one movie that you must not see alone. What you see here is only a sample of what is in store for you in Cutthroats 9. For your protection, you will be given a terror mask free at the entrance. We urge you to use it if the violence is more than you can stand.
Deserve's got nothing to do with it.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
The next one is the pick of the week by James Grimer. You guys will notice that these are going to be a week behind. So if you win this week, you won't get next week. It won't be reviewed next week. It'll be reviewed the week after, if that makes any sense. But he picked Slayground with Peter Coyote from Anchor Bay. I did not have this one. I actually had to pick it up. It sounded interesting enough. I put it in and I realized I'm doing my research on it afterwards. After I watched it, I'm like, oh wow, this is based off the same source material that the character Parker, he's like in like 19, 20 novels. The movie Parker was based on. The Split was based on. Point Blank was based on. So I'm like, this should be interesting. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking all those movies like The Split and Parker and Point Blank, they have good casts, especially The Split. And I'm like, oh, who do we have in here? Peter Coyote, okay. And Kelly Maroney in a small role? I'm just like, okay. Oh, this one's a little bit cheaper, I'm sure, than the other ones. What we have here is a guy who pulls off a crime with two other guys. Ned Eisenberg's in here from The Burning and Last Man Standing, too, as well. So he pulls this crime off with two other guys. One's a young kid. The kid screws up. He ends up crashing into somebody and making this mobster angry. This guy hires this crazy, almost slasher-like hitman to take them out. And that's exactly what happens. Peter Coyote goes on the run for it and wants to get out of here and get his name cleared. That's the plot of the movie. When the killings actually happen, they're all off-screen when people get whacked. So it's kind of strange. And it's very hard to care about Peter Coyote. He's not particularly likable. He's not particularly clever. He's not... And it's strange that this guy was a character in like 19 stories. He's called Stone in here. They changed the name. But it's so bizarre that this guy is supposed to be this super clever, witty guy or whatever. You'd think James Bond type if he has these books about him. But I guess those are completely different stories. But he's just not likable. He doesn't seem very intelligent, and he seems fairly inept. He ends up going to... And almost everybody he comes in contact with, he ends up getting them killed or is responsible for some bodily harm to them. You just like, this guy is a moron, to be honest. You would like him to, you know, fight his own battles or just let himself die at this point, halfway through the movie. But there are some good stalking scenes by the hitman on him and some decent action, some explosions. All in all, it's just a solid movie. It's not great. It's not amazing. I wouldn't really give it a recommendation. I would say if it's on TV, I would check it out. Peter Coyote's fine. He's a decent actor, but he doesn't demand or command a screen presence, I wouldn't say. I mean, the only other couple movies I think of is Southern Comfort, which he's fairly good in. But it's just kind of a weak effort with some decent moments in here. And I think that it's probably popular due to, you know, it being kind of almost like a slasher action movie. The Shadow Man is kind of scary, the guy tracking him down. And he kills him. The setups to the kills are ridiculous, but it's strange that they're all off-screen. The aftermath shown, and you're just like, off-screen deaths, come on. But... like I said, there's some decent moments, and it does end in an amusement park, which I love. And also like the new kids. So the ending is worth checking out, like I said. It's okay. I'm glad I watched it. I'm not upset I bought it, but I probably won't be revisiting it anytime soon.
You need money. I need money. You've lived half your life. And where are you?
How long I might just make it. With you around my neck, I'm already dead.
5,000 miles from home, in a bankrupt seaside town.
At the door they had found. Now, I want you gone. I want you lost. Leave this one alone.
On a snide passport, talking to a dead man.
And what have you got?
They were partners in crime.
Family. That's what Terry used to call Joni and me, family.
They were close as brothers.
No money, your wife in hiding.
But a shadow hung over them.
I'm the Shadow Man, Mr. Stone.
Terry's not the same man you knew in America. Don't let him die.
They did not know his name.
I see your head removed.
This would be the last time, Terry.
Christ! How many times have I heard that?
But he knew theirs.
Every villain I've ever known. And how do they end up?
I'm all around you, Mr. Stone.
What do you want? What else am I gonna do, huh, Terry? I'm backed up against the wall. You tell me what else. Tell me. You just killed a kid!
Brothers in crime.
You got one chance.
Fighting for their lives.
You owe me! Yeah, I owe you!
Welcome to your funeral, Mr. Stone, Mr. Stone.
Blood brothers in every sense.
Okay, let's see the pick of the week. Who's going to pick this week? For next week? Whatever. I explained it. You guys know what's going on. It's going to be John Wilhelm. Congrats, buddy. And let's get into the Q&A. Christopher Dallier. What is your favorite Olaf Edenbach movie? Mine's Burning Moon. I love Burning Moon. It's impossible to, pass that one up for me. It's so sleazy. A terrible teenage older brother is forced to watch his younger brother. So what's he do? Shoot up heroin and tells him two horrifically nasty, violent stories. One's a slasher. One goes into this weird medieval torture realm, which is just a highlight of gore. It's a shot on video. I think Intervision put out the DVD. Recommended if you like gore movies and nonsense. Nick, what's your favorite David Lynch movie, and did you go to film school? My favorite David Lynch movie has got to be either Elephant Man or Eraserhead. I just, the first time I saw Eraserhead was years ago, and I didn't particularly like it. I was like, man, what is this? This is stupid. But the older I got and the more I saw it, it's just one of those movies that I love. And I used to have this friend who used to come over, and he never knew when to leave. And one time I was like, man, I am tired. I got to go to bed. So I just put on Eraserhead. And I was like, maybe this will get him to leave. Because I love the movie at that point. I'm like, I hope he gets to... Because the first time you watch Eraserhead, you're just like... Especially if you don't watch a lot of movies. But, yeah. But Eraserhead, probably. Elephant Man's a beautiful movie, though. But it's the least David Lynch movie, so I'll go with Eraserhead. Did I go to film school? I went to a community college, and they taught a film class there. Nothing, no real film school. And, I took film in high school, so no real film school. John Wilhelm, what is your favorite horror movie setting? Haunted house, jungle, graveyard, mall. And that if you see a movie being released with that setting, would make the movie a must-watch. I love cemeteries in horror movies. Almost any cemetery. Even like those Mexican movies, like Graveyard of the Dead. What was the one? I can't remember what it was. Graveyard of Terror, something like that. I'm like, cemeteries are awesome, especially if you go gothic. I'll watch anything in a cemetery, probably. And I also love jungle, but those are more adventure. Like, I don't need it to be a horror movie in the jungle. I love jungle movies. Haunted houses are fun, but I don't like Ghost. So, like, Night of the Demons with demons, I love it. I don't hate Ghost, but it's like my least favorite. But Night of the Demons with demons in a haunted house or something like that, I love that. Put a graveyard outside of that, which I think they do in the little cartoon animation, I'm in. So Graveyard's probably number one. Let's get into the update. We have a few for you. My Amicus box set finally came. Awesome. Severin. What do we got in there? We got Asylum, which I have seen. Pretty cool. And The Screaming Starts, The Beast Must Die, and The Vault of Amicus, which is special features on there. Really cool. Glad to have it. We got The Vengeance Trilogy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Lady Vengeance. This is the import. It's supposed to have more features. I don't know if that's true. This is a tartan import. We have Bonehill Road Blu-ray from Todd Sheets. Awesome. Very, very fun movie if you like independent stuff. Not my favorite Sheets movie, but if you like low-budget stuff, check it out. I did a review for that. Jack the Ripper by Severin. Pretty damn cool. Happy that came. What do we got? Cool reversible cover. Let's see them features. So yeah, I love what Severin's doing. One of my favorite companies, hands down. 35th anniversary of Yore, The Hunter from the Future by Antonio Marighetti. Is it Red Brown in this one? Is it Red Brown? Somebody's in here. It is Red Brown. Yeah, and it's also got Corrine Clary from Hitchhike. I just noticed that, and John Striner from Caligula and Tenebra. So yeah, Yore. This is dirt cheap. I've not seen it. Looks fun. I picked up a Blu-ray of Taxi Driver. Didn't have it. Had it on Vudu, but I had to have Taxi Driver. Love Taxi Driver. My favorite Martin Scorsese. One of my all-time favorite movies ever, to be honest. Revenge film, great. Deer Hunter. Haven't seen this in over 15 years. Want to rewatch it. And Sean Moreland was nice enough to send me a package. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. He had an extra one of these. Lightning Bolt and the Resurrection of Zachary Wheeler from Code Red. Awesome. And he threw a couple bonuses in. Out of the Furnace, which I have not seen. And a DVD of RPG, Real Playing Game. Real Playing Game. I've not heard of this, but it has Rutger Hauer in it, so that's cool. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Next week will probably be a lot of streaming stuff because I'll be out of town. I might not even have a chance to watch more than a few movies for next week's update, but I'll get to the movie that Nick picked for his pick of the week for next week. It is what is it, MFA, which sounds interesting. It's a revenge movie, so I'm into that. But thank you very much for watching, and as always, you guys have a good one.